Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists, episode 487. My name is Kyle.
My name is James.
And my name is Zach.
And we're here to talk about movies, movie lists, and movie obsession for the next hour or so. James, I want to give you a shout out at the top of the episode here.
Okay.
I know we always save shout outs for the end, but I thought we'd do it at the beginning of the meeting today.
Sure. Thank you.
So last week on Patreon, we played a game based on this Blockbuster game you had.
Yes.
And then later that week on the Instagram, I saw that you posted the game to our feed.
Yeah.
And that was awesome Instagram content right there.
Okay. Thanks. I think you told me to do that, so I did it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. This is a very self-serving
But
shout out to James.
I'll take credit, though, if you want to give me credit. I mean, I did post it, yes, but it was your idea to post it. So,
Well, then I have a second shout out to myself for telling James to post that great content to the feed. Good job, me.
Nice. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, you should check out the Instagram.com/Cinereelists. You can check out the Blockbuster board game that we hacked, I guess, for the podcast. And there were a couple listeners too that were like, "Hey, I've played that before." So I guess it's not that cool if other people have it, but what can you do?
I wouldn't join Instagram just to see it. Maybe if you already have an account and it's open.
It's pretty cool, Zach. I don't know. You might want to
disagree. You should definitely make an Instagram account right now. Just pause this episode, download the app, create an account, follow at Cinereelists, and then you can comment on James' photo of his Blockbuster game.
Yep. And then life complete. You won.
You won.
Yep.
That's the secret code.
Well, welcome to the podcast. This is 487. As Kyle mentioned, we're going to be talking Black Widow and our top 10 Scarlett Johansson movies. Before we jump into those things, I just wanted to remind you there's a video version of this podcast on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Cinereelists, follow us there, watch video versions of this audio podcast. You could also follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Support the podcast, get extra after show audio. You could leave us a review on Apple Podcast Reviews. We'd appreciate that as well. 5 stars only. And I think that's it for housekeeping this week. Except, Kyle, I think you mentioned that you have a check-in.
I actually don't have a check-in, but I did bring in a quick special guest for a check-in.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys, it's Megan.
Hey, Megan.
Hi.
It's Megan from last week.
Well, hey, yeah. I actually have 2 check-ins.
Okay.
The first is a quick one, and then the second is a 2-parter. So, but
Wait, hold on. Your one check-in has turned into 3 check-ins?
3 parts, yeah.
Oh, this
but
is
the second,
wildly getting out of hand.
The second 2/3, the 2/3
This is going to be good.
It relates
is
to
it
last week.
Is it a 3-parter? Okay.
No.
We're ready.
The second 2/3 is a 3-parter. Yes, that's for sure. Okay, so the first one is for as long as I've known Kyle, he's wanted me to watch The Shining. Mm-hmm. And I have resisted for 18 years.
Something like that.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't like scary movies. I'm not a huge fan of Kubrick. I just was like, no, it's not for me. On his birthday, though, I acquiesced and we watched The Shining finally together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess the big question is, what'd you think?
It was not as scary as I thought it was going to be. Jack Nicholson is creepy, for sure. Kyle has told me more about Kubrick and his treatment of, what's her name?
Shelley Duvall.
And that makes me mad. A little bit mad.
Sure.
And I didn't love that it was like a little kid and being like mental issues, and that was disturbing. But overall,
you don't like kid danger in your movies?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
No.
It probably
But overall,
doesn't hurt too that like that kid was roughly your child's age.
Roughly, yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
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 So overall, I'll give it a 3.
Out of 10?
No, out of 5.
5. Okay.
James,
okay.
out of
You
10.
guys don't do it out of 10s here. Come on, I know
Wait,
that.
a 3 out of 72? That's low.
we have a 22-point scale of how we rate movies in the Peterson household.
That's fun. Apparently, James does.
But here's the biggest question.
What?
What did you think of the 4K transfer?
It was nice.
It was nice. Oh, no. Megan.
I don't have the eye that Kyle has for this 4K business, so
Did Kyle tell you he spent $46 to get that disc?
no.
It was
That's new information.
That's an exaggeration.
But somewhere along the lines he made $15. I don't know. Like I'm totally
I actually spent $0 on that because I got an Amazon gift card for a blood study for my COVID vaccine.
oh good. You're selling your body for,
Yeah,
for
so my body to
4K
science
now.
for
That's
Kubrick.
awesome. We're just not going to talk about that anymore.
Another follow-up question. Would you ever watch it again?
No.
James, did you have the presence of mind where if she said yes, you would keep yourself from pressing the button, or were you pressing that no matter what?
I was going to press this one. But, could have gone either way.
Well, you can use the applause here now because I've told Megan she no longer has to watch any more Kubrick movies with me.
Yay.
All right. That's
Okay,
that's an applause-worthy moment. So which Kubrick movies have you seen? Because you might not want to pull the rug out, right now. You might have just not seen the right one. Maybe Kyle's just showing you the wrong ones, is what I'm saying.
I've seen 2001.
Mm-hmm.
What else have I seen?
The Shining.
The Shining.
Didn't you say you saw Eyes Wide Shut?
Oh, I did see Eyes Wide Shut
Like before
I knew you.
Yeah.
And didn't I see Lolita? Part of Lolita.
When Zach and I watched Lolita, you were in and out of the room. Yeah.
Yeah, I did not like that one very much either.
No Spartacus? I mean, Spartacus is like his most accessible Hollywood, epic sword and sandals. It's like the least weird movies of all of his. And it's good without being weird. It's
Maybe
long,
I'll try
though.
it.
Yeah.
It's like 3 hours long.
You can work on me for 18 years. Maybe I'll watch it in 18 years, James.
I'm not going to work Spartacus for 18 years.
So James will.
Okay.
Or
And then Zach will throw one in there too.
What's the one with the candlelight?
Barry Lyndon?
Barry Lyndon.
I don't think Megan would like Barry Lyndon.
It's kind of slow, but it's not as weird, I don't think, as some of the other ones.
I think she has better things to do.
Spartacus is not slow.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I get bored easily.
It's Kubrick doing big budget Hollywood film.
We watched The Bourne Identity the other night, and I was bored halfway through.
Okay.
It's like,
Spartacus might not be for you.
okay. Not that I don't like Jason Bourne. I thought that was a great movie. I just didn't keep my interest the third time around.
Fair.
Anyway, should we move on to the other two?
The two-parter?
The other 2/3? Yeah.
Yeah.
So last week was Fast and Furious, right?
Mhm.
And I received a gift yesterday.
Mm.
This is a visual.
Oh. Switch over to the YouTube.
There you go.
There you go. Nice.
Poster.
Oh, that's great.
There's a story behind this, though.
Okay. I want to hear it.
Wait, just so the people who aren't watching the YouTube, it's a Fenine poster.
It's a Fenine poster. It's double-sided, so it's one from the
It's a real movie poster.
real movie poster.
It's a real theater poster. Yep, it's nice
Yeah.
and thick, right? You can't
is.
see through it.
Nope.
Now it's got the double side printing on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the second part of that is not only did I get a poster, but my two of my mom's siblings one owns it and one runs it, a movie theater in the small town where they grew up and they still live.
Wow.
So this was news to us, and my mom just got back from visiting there, so she scored an F9 poster.
Sorry,
What was
my bad.
that?
James.
It could be haunted. I don't know.
It was a scary story. I had to throw that in there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So this theater has been in this small town for a very long time, and they recently purchased it, I think like last fall, and taken it over. They have stacks and stacks and stacks of movie posters. They have old reels.
Yeah, the former owner never threw a movie poster. He would just take them out and put them in a stack. And they said that they went through a bunch of them, and they still have like 10,000 to go through.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the
That's
big
awesome.
controversy of this movie theater is all the movies used to be $5, no matter what, like $5. And when they took it over, they were going to increase it to $7, no matter what time of day, adults, kids, whatever. But they thought that would be outrageous, so they settled on $6. So you can see F9 or Black Widow for $6 in Tawas, Michigan.
Wow.
In a mom and pop theater.
In a mom and pop theater.
And are they the
That's
only
awesome.
movie theater in town?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I don't know how many, like if they're the only movie theater within a how many mile radius, that I don't know.
They should charge like $20 because, you know.
Exactly.
Where else you going to go?
Yeah, if it's a rainy day and you can't go to the beach. Oh, it's right on Lake Huron too, so
Oh, okay.
you can't go to the beach. You need something else to do. But
I've never been to
very
a
cool.
beach in Michigan. I imagine that wouldn't be as fun as a
No,
Florida.
James, you're correct. You're correct.
Those are
These
fighting
lake beaches,
words. Those
lake
are fighting
beaches
words.
are far inferior to ocean beaches.
No. I grew up going to the beach on Lake Huron in this small town where my mom is from, and it was glorious. It clear water, warm. We would spend all day in there. It was just fantastic. We did just go freshwater, no sharks, no salt,
No life at all.
Oh, shut up. There are minnows and
minnows.
fish and all that fun stuff.
Nice.
We have a rivalry in our house. I like lakes. Kyle likes oceans because he's pretentious and from the East Coast.
No, I'm not pretentious. People just think East Coasters are pretentious.
But you are pretentious.
Yeah, good. I mean, Kyle, you're not pretentious. Is that your claim?
Yeah, I'm not pretentious. I'm just perceived as pretentious because of my my roots.
Because you spent a couple years on the East Coast.
Yeah, but I was also raised by East Coast parents.
Are your parents pretentious?
Not at all. They're
No
from the
comment.
coast.
I think they
No comment.
listen to this podcast.
Because I certainly don't think they are.
I don't think my parents are pretentious. Do you think
It
my parents
sounds
are
like you do.
pretentious, Zach?
Of course not. It sounds like you think so, though.
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So that's my check-in.
Do your parents
wanted
really
to
listen
tell
to the podcast?
I think your dad does.
I don't know if he listens regularly.
Oh.
I don't know. Hey,
Interesting.
Baba, I call him Baba. If you're listening, write in. Let us know.
It's heyguys at Cinereelists.com.
You got it.
He's done a check-in for us. He's done a review.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did a review of 2001 and how it connected to Star Wars.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was great.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that. Was that a long time ago?
Yeah, this is when Last Jedi came out.
Sure. Yeah, that was a while ago for sure. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it for the check-in, or did you have a part?
No, that's
4?
it.
Perfect.
I got a poster. There's a movie theater that my family owns, and The Shining. Those are my 3 things.
Awesome.
I can't believe this is the first
Very
time
cool.
I knew that your family owned a movie theater.
This
Well,
is
we
the
just
first time
knew.
we learned about this.
I mean,
Oh,
I
okay.
kind of knew, but my mom gave us more details yesterday.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I want to go movie
Very
poster
cool.
rummaging. I just want to go through that stack and see what I can find.
I'm sure if you guys wanted
For
to go
sure.
and just go through movie posters and then play in the lake because it's really fun, you could.
I mean, those double-sided movie posters, I would say roughly the average, no matter what the movie, is like $9 or $10 each on eBay. Easily. And if it's something that's in demand, it can be much higher than that. So they should probably sell them.
My understanding is they were working with a collector who was buying the in-demand ones from them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other ones,
And
he
then
might
flipping
just like
them for much more money.
Oh, I'm sure he is, yeah, but probably.
Sure.
The other ones, they might just do lots, like, here's a lot of 100 movie posters or something like that.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. It was nice to see
Thanks.
you again and hear you.
Great to see you,
too.
Megan.
Definitely.
Bye.
We'll see you next time, Megan. Bye.
Bye.
There she goes.
And like the mystical being she is, she's gone.
All right, let's get into this week's episode. We're going to talk Black Widow and the top 10 Scarlett Johansson movies. We're going to start with Black Widow, which is in theaters and on Disney Plus right now. Here's a clip.
It still fits.
Oh my God.
I never watched it once.
Come and drink.
Rise, you workers of salvation. Family. Back together again.
Seeing as our family construct was just a calculated ruse that only lasted 3 years, I don't think that we can use this term anymore, can we?
Agreed. So here's what's gonna happen.
Okay, reunion then, huh? And I want to say something right off the bat.
That was Black Widow, an American superhero action film directed by Kate Shortland, starring Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, O.T. Fabenle, Olga Kurylenko, William Hurt, Ray Winstone, and Rachel Weisz. Weisz or Weisz? I think it's Weisz. The official
Weisz.
IMDb plot synopsis for Black Widow is Natasha Romanoff confronts the darker parts of her ledger when a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past arises. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say so.
That's if you were going to describe this movie in one sentence, that's probably it. I would guess. What did you guys think of Black Widow?
Well, I actually was looking forward to Black Widow. You know, because of the pandemic, we kind of had this break from Marvel for a little bit. Then we were getting the TV shows, and then Black Widow came out, and I was like, oh, this is great. This is going to be, and it's something that you could watch from home, which is kind of a new model for being able to see these huge blockbuster movies. So I was excited about it. Definitely looking forward to it. And I was glad to see Florence Pugh entering the superhero universe, because I think she's a really great actress, and I think she would fit well in the universe, and I wanted to see how she fit in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I went in pro and I left very pro. I really enjoyed myself a lot in this movie.
So you went from pro to very pro?
Yeah.
So you actually enjoyed it more than you thought you would, even though you were hoping to enjoy it anyway. You were already into it.
Sure. So I have a thing, everyone has movie pet peeves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is racist or what, but I don't enjoy. I don't.
Wait, let me throw a flag real quick, just in case we gotta go back.
I'm not racist, but
I don't love listening to Russian accents for like 2 hours. Okay. I don't know, like Russian accents speaking English. Mm-hmm. It's just it's not a easy accent to listen to on my ears. I don't know. You guys can tell me if that is deranged thinking or not. But so
I don't think I've ever seen a movie where it's just people with Russian accents for 2 hours.
There's a lot of movies. Any movie that has a bad guy Russian, he's just speaking in Russian accent the whole time.
Yeah, but normally the bad guy isn't the main character. He comes in and out of it, not like these people where they were the bulk of the movie.
Well, yeah. So this is what I was afraid of, is that this movie would just be all Russian accent, and I was just like, I'm not into it. But it wasn't. I don't think that didn't bother me at all. It was very little. It's just a random, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm like tired of Russians as the bad guy. Maybe that's part of it. And I'm not the Cold War, I think, is relatively boring as a movie subject. Anyways, all that aside. I found myself really enjoying the movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really like Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh off of each other. I think they worked as sisters. Like they made total sense as sisters, And I thought the plot was fun and interesting. There's some cool set pieces, and the opening intro was fantastic. The intro was like maybe the best part of the movie. It was really, really good, I thought. So
are you talking
anyway,
about
that's my
the
brief
credit
thoughts.
sequence?
I'm talking about both. The first 10 minutes that's kind of like The Americans, plus the title sequence. The title sequence was fantastic.
Did the title sequence have the song cover?
Yeah.
It played the American Pie song.
It wasn't playing Smells Like Teen Spirit, but like the slow
Kyle's
version.
Smells Like Teen Spirit? Okay.
Yeah.
You would confuse those songs, James, obviously, because you're not like a huge fan, but yeah.
You're right.
Smells Like Teen Spirit.
That's why.
The Day the Music Died and Smells Like Teen Spirit start exactly the same. So I can understand your confusion there.
The problem is I saw this 2 weeks ago, so you guys are probably going to have to remind me about some of the things in this movie. For sure.
Okay, so those are my brief thoughts. I could talk more, but who wants to go next?
I'll go next. Maybe this will help jog more James' memory.
Sure.
So I was excited for this movie back in like 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened over the past year and a half. And I find that I don't really care about Marvel as much as I did, a year and a half ago. Maybe because we're at the start of a new phase and I don't know kind of what the plan is for this new phase. But I find that Marvel is not something that excites me as much as it used to. So I was not as excited to go into this movie as Zach was. And I left this movie feeling the same way as when I went in, where I was entertained. I have no major qualms with the movie, but it didn't. I don't know if it really added anything to the MCU, to the Marvel universe. I know it gave us a Black Widow backstory, but I don't feel like it really elevated the character. Or, she's always been this side character, or she was. They even kind of make that reference in the movie, like she's an Avenger, but she's not one of the big ones. And I was hoping that this would maybe, at least in her own movie, put her in the forefront. But really, I think the star of this movie, and I agree with you, Zach, is Florence Pugh. And I do like her in this movie. I do like seeing her in the Marvel Universe, and that made me a little bit excited. She is a really good actress. I really enjoyed her relationship as the sister to Scarlett Johansson. I thought that played really well together. But when it came to the action itself, it felt like kind of Marvel's take on a Jason Bourne movie, but using the Jason Bourne fight style, which is 20 years old. I wasn't like blown away. Like action movies and fight sequences have evolved so much in the last 20 years. And I think some of the best action movies give you something new. And this one, I didn't feel like any of the action was that new. And even the set piece was like giant flying fortress crashing to the ground. And we've seen that in Marvel so many times. So there was little moments I liked here and there, but as an overall Marvel film, I found it kind of forgettable.
Interesting. I don't disagree with either of you. I think this is definitely it's a character-specific Marvel movie, and I know we got one of those after Endgame, but I feel like we've gotten a lot of team-up movies, a lot of bigger movies that are less about one person. And the last Spider-Man movie was very forgettable, I would say. And I think I'll remember this one more just because it felt kind of like a return to the roots of like actually telling the story of one character and making it I mean, this movie's somewhat a complete story as it relates to Natasha Romanoff. And I liked that about it. I liked the idea that things that have been mentioned in like casual conversation across some of the other movies are referenced here. Maybe we don't get like the full story of what happened in Budapest, but we get the gist of what happened there. And a couple of the other things that are just kind of like these unimportant things that were mentioned throughout other movies in the series. You get to see some of those things filled out more. And I think the Natasha Romanoff character at times has played kind of like a character just to link other characters and not really, she has her own personality and things like that, but she doesn't really have a super strong like arc within the Avengers movies or the other Marvel movies that she's appeared in. And so I liked that we had the time. We were given the time to actually get to know her a little bit and see like more of that personality come out and more of the struggle of being like an ex-assassin, which we've heard a lot about, but haven't actually gotten to see. It's not that this movie gives you a lot of that. Like they don't really show her being an assassin and dispatching people. No. I remember in the early days of them talking about this movie, I thought it was supposed to be a prequel, and it is, but it's not a prequel about her time before the Avengers. It's just like a prequel to the later Avengers movies.
Yeah,
it's like between Civil War and Infinity War.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So it's like a prequel 2 years ago in Marvel timeline.
A gap hole.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad we got the origin story, but the movie wasn't about the origin story. I mean, it was. It's just in a very different way than showing you the origin story.
Right.
I also enjoyed the addition of Florence Pugh. The only issue I had with her being there is we'll talk about it in spoilers because I'm not going to say it right now. I was about to say it, but it's probably a pretty big spoiler. So, yeah, but I enjoyed what was there. And also, I think it'll be upper mid tier by the end of this. It's definitely not like a top tier Marvel movie just because they've set a standard of like a lot of very consequential things happening in a Marvel movie. And this one has consequential things to Natasha or to the Black Widow, but I'm not sure there's much of a bigger story being told here by design. And that's the universe they've built. Not all of them can have that.
Yeah.
And
I kind of like that for someone that doesn't have superpowers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not giving her a plot where she's saving the universe from blah, 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 you know?
Sure.
She's like saving the world from something that is close to her experience and it seems doable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed that about it. And I thought that the bad guy was appropriately bad and you really don't like him. And there's challenges to beat him, but you know, you can beat him. And I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The bad guy was still just a human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He wasn't some cosmic being.
And I like that the bad guy, some of his motivations were like bigger than probably the walls around this movie. But also it wasn't a girl power movie, but it was a girl-led movie, I would say. And even the bad guy was like a kind of, you know, it's a guy who's controlling women, right? And so that was in the movie, but it wasn't the movie, right? It didn't feel like a statement movie. It just felt like this is what a bad guy would do. This is why he's doing it. This is why he's doing it to women. And now here's these women who are fighting back. It wasn't, I liked how they did that. And I think that's in line with the comics as well, which makes sense as to why they did that in this. But yeah, I liked it in general, but I do think I'll probably forget most of it over time.
It did seem like Marvel's version of like a Mission Impossible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of how I saw it.
Even had a whole skydiving sequence, which we just saw in Fallout a couple years ago.
It has the skydiving. It has the masks. It has a bunch of stuff that
Yep.
Yeah.
calls back to Mission Impossible.
I really enjoyed the center set piece where they're in the helicopter and the prison in like the middle of what is that? What Russia?
Siberia.
Yeah, Siberia. That's it. Yeah.
The breakout.
I thought that was
scene.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought that was fun.
And I did like David Harbour. What was he called? He was like the Russian Captain America, the red
curtain or something.
No, it was it was the red something.
Yeah.
I just saw this movie not that long ago and I forgot what he was called.
The Red Square.
No.
Red Guardian.
The Red Guardian. There it is.
Mhm.
I thought he was really well cast for that role, and he was almost chewing scenery as the Red Guardian, but it was a perfect, like, he felt like a comic book character come to life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed him as well. I mean, I enjoyed everybody in the cast. Yeah. And
I
Florence
did like the
Pugh's-
fact-
Florence Pugh's great in it. I'm just not sure. But we'll get into it in spoilers.
I also like that Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh had the same training, right, growing up. And so when they fight each other, they're fighting very similarly, right? Like they know each other's kind of tricks and stuff like that. I enjoyed that.
Mhm.
Their fight was much better than the other fight.
The
other
first
person
fight?
the other person who can fight similarly. I don't want to spoil that yet.
Oh, okay. You don't want to even bring up that character?
Well, I mean, I'm not going deeper than that. I'm just saying I enjoyed the Florence Pugh ScarJo fight the most out of all the hand-to-hand fights. Though again, it felt very Jason Bourne to me. They're in like a European kitchen apartment.
Sure.
Mhm.
So I've seen that fight before, but I thought that was well choreographed.
Yeah. And it speaks to their complicated relationship. I enjoyed all that.
Mhm. It also kind of felt like everything that was on the screen was fine and it served the story, and it's probably more in line with a Bourne movie or a Mission Impossible movie. If that's what they're trying to emulate, it worked. But I feel like with Marvel movies, the ones that are standing out to me in later dates either have big consequential things happening to them or they have an interesting presentation. And I'm not sure this has a unique presentation compared to something like Ragnarok or the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I know this isn't a Galaxy movie, so maybe that's why, but it felt very normal.
I guess for me, it was appropriately restrained because again, she doesn't have superpowers, right? So
Right.
they didn't make this like an F9 where like they have superpowers, interacting in the real world. This had to be like a Mission Impossible or Jason Bourne, like peak human kind of a thing. And I like both of those franchises. So this one didn't reinvent the genre.
Yeah,
But it gave us a Marvel version of the genre, which I'll watch those any day of the week.
And I think your point is my criticism is that it did not give me like it was Marvel skins, but if you had taken away the Marvelness of it, it would have not have been any different than a Mission Impossible or Jason Bourne movie. And I wish they could have put something else on it to make it unique, besides just being a copy of franchises I also really enjoy.
Sure.
Yeah, but I also feel like so if it's going to be a Marvel version of those movies, then let's compare it to those movies. There's plenty of those movies that stand above this one for me. Just as like a straight modern realistic violence spy movie, there's at least 2 Mission Impossible movies that are above this, and probably 2 or 3 Bourne movies that are above this for me.
Yeah, but when you talk about also female-led and incredibly female-led, right? The 2 main characters are women. A lot of the secondary characters are women. The plot is very thematically, dealing with issues of like trafficking and misogyny, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
When you start bringing that into it, you're comparing it to things like Salt, which I think this I like this movie better than those kind of things.
But
It's way better than Salt. I will give you that for sure.
What about comparing this to like Atomic Blonde?
See, I didn't like Atomic Blonde that much. I know you did, but I didn't like it that much.
Yeah,
and
the hallway scene in Atomic Blonde is worth the price of admission for that whole movie for me.
Agreed.
Whereas this movie didn't have that. Didn't have that one scene where I was like, okay, this is what makes this stand out to me. That doesn't mean it's not entertaining and it's not good. It's not fun to watch. It's all of those things. But it's also little paint by numbers here and there.
I would watch this movie 3 times before watching Atomic Blonde again.
But you just said you don't like Atomic Blonde, so
yeah, exactly.
I want to know a movie that you do like, and would you rather watch this or the movie you do like?
Yes, there are movies I like that I would watch.
No,
yeah,
female-led action movies. Is there any?
That's what I'm saying. I think this is a great example of a female-led. I thought this was a lot of fun. I thought it was funny, more than it had to be. I thought some of the family stuff, which I think we'll talk about in spoilers, was interesting, because this is a complicated family. This is not just a paint by numbers family drama kind of a thing, because there's some complexity to like how that family is structured that I think is really interesting. And the first 10 minutes I thought were fantastic because I did not know the nature of all these relationships. I didn't know exactly what's going on, who I'm rooting for. I thought it was, pretty interesting all the way up to the title sequence.
So we watched another movie about family last week, F9.
Yeah.
And I think that Black Widow handles the themes of family with much better and with much more nuance than the F9 franchise.
It doesn't just say the word enough.
F9, you just say the word and you're like, okay, it's about family. But
yeah.
So I will give this one credit for being a much clearer family movie than F9.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm bagging on this movie a lot, but I did enjoy it. But there's a lot of buts, but it's an hour and 34 minutes long. It really does not have to be an hour and 34 minutes long.
No, it's longer. You mean it's over 2 hours long.
It's 2 hours and 14 minutes long. Sorry, I'm bad at math. It's 2 hours and 14 minutes long. It could have easily been under 2 hours and we would have gotten the point.
If Marvel had given me a 90-minute Black Widow spy action thriller, I would have probably given this 4.5 stars.
Interesting. So you guys felt that it was dragging. You felt like, oh, this is taking forever. I never felt that.
I feel like there's this Marvel quota. Like we have to make it 2 hours and 15 minutes because it's not. And maybe that's just for movies in general now. Like, people are comparing like minute per value or something. So I feel like there's this need to make movies long so people are getting the most of their $15. But I'm fine going to see a tight 90-minute movie that entertains me, that clips, that does something new.
So just to clarify, both of you felt like it was slow, like at points where you're like, okay, get to it. Because I just didn't feel that.
Yeah, it felt too long to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a scene where a character arm wrestles some other characters, and he arm wrestles like 4 dudes. It's like, can't he just arm wrestle one? And we get on with this. You know what I mean? There's like little stuff like that I think you could just trim and it would be the exact same movie pretty much. And I also think there's a switcheroo in the end that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Didn't feel too highly motivated. Felt like just a switcheroo for a switcheroo that probably could have gone and saved you a few minutes there. It just felt like there were a couple things they could have trimmed here and there, and it would not have been a big deal to the overall enjoyment of the movie. But it's not like crazy egregious. It's just felt like it could have been tighter to me. I guess I'm the only one other than Kyle. Zach, you thought it was the perfect runtime.
Yeah, I will say this. At no point in the movie was I bored or felt like, trim this scene. I felt it clipped along.
I never felt, oh my goodness, but there's times I was like, okay, where are we going? What's next here? Like there were some scenes I was ready to move on from.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Anything else before we give this a letterboxed and talk spoilers?
No.
Perfect. Let's letterbox this. Zach, what are you going to give Black Widow?
4 stars.
4 stars for Zach. Kyle?
3 stars.
I am also giving it 3 stars. 2 3 stars and 1 4 for Black Widow. We're going to talk spoilers at the end of the podcast. So if you want to hear spoilers, hang out till after the music ends, and then we'll jump right into it. Let's jump into it. This is our top 10 Scarlett Johansson movies, our list for the week. Right before we recorded, Zach broke the news to Kyle and I that we've already done this list. Or at least Zach and I did, all the way back in episode 270, where we talked about Ghost in the Shell. But we didn't realize it until right before we decided to record. But Kyle's never made this list, so we thought it might be fun to just go through the list anyway. And then at the end, we'll see how Zach and I did. If our list has changed over time, or if it's pretty much exactly the same as it was. What would that be? Over 2 years ago. It's probably
for sure. Probably much more.
We recorded Ghost in the Shell when I was in New York in early 2017, like probably February 2017. So it's been
nice
4 years. So, Kyle, why don't you go first, since you have never made this list before publicly? Anyway, I assume you make it annually on your own, but
I'm constantly just choosing actors and making lists on them, just in hope that someday I can talk about them.
Yep.
So when you guys are ready to do top 10 Toby Jones, I got it in the pocket.
Toby Jones. I don't even know who that is.
Yes, you do. If you recognize him. I don't have a Toby Jones list though.
He's one
of those supporting character actor guys. Like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, his forehead is twice the size of his face.
He was the governor in First Cow. He was the owner of the cow. He's the one of the bad guys in the. He's an MCU guy. He's the head of Hydra. Maybe he's in
Captain America,
First Avenger.
Yeah.
And then he shows up as a computer in, I think, Winter Soldier.
You'd recognize him. Don't worry about it.
I recognize him from all the things you've mentioned, but I can't concoct another thing that he's been in.
I'm pretty sure he's in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. All right. Anyway, moving on. We're not here to talk about Toby Jones. We're here to talk about Scarlett Johansson and my top 10 list of her. Now, about half of my Scarlett Johansson movies are Marvel movies. So I decided to only include one on my list that kind of encompasses what I think is the best performance of her as Black Widow. So I'm not going to list off 8 Marvel movies. So all of these are not MCU -1. I also rank them both by how much I like/remember the movie and her specific performance too, because sometimes she's not in these movies a lot. So that being said, my number 10 is Vicky Cristina Barcelona. This is a Woody Allen movie. I think this is one of the last Woody Allen movies, at least new releases, that I've watched. It was maybe this and then Midnight in Paris, and I haven't really checked in any of his new stuff since then. In this, Scarlett Johansson and Rebecca Hall, they play Vicky Cristina. They're in Barcelona. They're two friends who become infatuated with Javier Bardem and kind of form this love triangle. And then Penelope Cruz shows up as Javier Bardem's ex-wife. And they have a very fiery and tumultuous relationship. And then kind of the four of them are in this love quadrilogy. I don't know how to describe it. But that's all I really remember about this movie. I know that Scarlett Johansson's in it, but I cannot tell you anything about her performance. I just remember my favorite parts being whenever Penelope Cruz showed up, it kind of would burn everything down on the screen.
Nice. I haven't seen it.
It's good.
You love Woody Allen.
Yeah, I just haven't seen it. So for my list, I decided no Marvel movies. because she's been in so many of them, and I didn't want to open up that can of worms. I easily could have included Black Widow on this list, but I didn't. No Marvel movies on this list. And I'm not going to go too much into them because, like we've said before, I've done this list before. So my number 10 is The Jungle Book, the live action remake where she plays Kaa. So it's voice acting work, but it's really good voice acting work. She is very she's very menacing in this role, in kind of a hypnotic way, which fits with the character. I thought it's a great performance. So Jungle Book, my number 10.
Nice. I do have a Marvel movie on my list, and it's my number 10, Avengers: Endgame, which is maybe not the most Scarlett Johansson of the Marvel movies, but I do think she is given an opportunity to give an emotional performance in it. Actually, two of them, like towards the beginning when she's kind of alone and hanging out in Avengers headquarters. She kind of gives a little bit of that. And then also the scene that she has with Hawkeye and Red Skull and a bunch of other things happening. And I think if there's one movie I remember her as Black Widow for, it's probably that movie, and it probably will remain that movie, even though she has an entire movie dedicated to her character at this point. So my number 10, Avengers: Endgame.
My number 9, Zachary mentioned, it is Jungle Book. And yeah, I agree with everything you have to say about her voice acting work. She does have this kind of menace, slithering sound. Her voice encompasses what I would think a snake would sound like if it could talk.
Sure. Okay, my number 9 is The Island, which is a movie that everyone sleeps on. It's not a movie that anyone talks about anymore at all. Directed by Michael Bay, and I think it's actually a fun kind of dystopian chase movie. I enjoy The Island. She plays the second main character behind Ewan McGregor, and they're kind of escaping from this fake utopia. It becomes a dystopia where they're, I think, harvested for their organs or something like that, and they escape from it. I like this movie. She does exactly what she needs to do for the film in her role, and so The Island is my number 9.
Even though I know the twist and that you spoiled it right here in the list, is it worth watching?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good use of Michael Bay.
It's a Michael Bay movie. Yeah, so it's pre-Transformers when he lost all ability to tell a story.
Okay.
I would say.
Yeah.
My number 9.
I'm not going to say who the bad guy is, but Sean Bean's in it.
And he may or may not die.
He may or may not bite it. Okay, great.
My number 9 is from 2006. It's Scoop, which is a Woody Allen. It's kind of hard to avoid all the Woody Allen movies when it comes to ScarJo. She's been in 4 of them or something like that. She's been in a lot.
What movie is your number 9?
Scoop.
Oh, the journalist movie?
Yeah, the journalist movie with Hugh Jackman, I think, is who she's starring opposite of. And I like this movie. I did not expect much from it when I saw it, and I think it's one of the snappier of the Woody Allen movies, I would say. Felt like there was more going on in it than your typical Woody Allen movie. Like, a lot of his movies feel like they're about relationships, and it leans heavily into that. And it's not like that's not here, but this is also like a crime story as well. And I enjoyed that aspect of it, and I enjoyed her as the one of the 2 main leads of the movie. My number 9.
My number 8 is a 2014 movie, and this is Lucy by Luc Besson. Now, this movie is definitely flawed, and I'm not trying to defend it as like a great movie, but it's also kind of crazy in a fun way. In Lucy, if I remember correctly, Scarlett Johansson plays a woman who, I think she gets caught up in some trouble where she's forced to smuggle drugs. And the way that these people smuggle drugs is they like literally will open you up, put them in your chest cavity, close you back up, and then have you go across the border. And while she's making the crossing, she suffers some sort of trauma. The drugs that in their bag, like they leak and they go into her system, and they unlock superpowers for her. And this has the cliche of like, we only use 10% of our brains, which is dumb. And it even has like on the screen, it'll show, like 33% brain if she can do something else like Matrix-y, then 55%. So that's all silly.
Huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. It's right. Not the first movie to do this, but there's also kind of something fun about this, regular woman who then becomes this superhero and the only superhero on Earth and the places it goes. So it's a movie where I don't know if I liked it, but it's definitely a movie that I have not forgotten.
Just so it's stated, in case you didn't know this, the average person uses 100% of their brain. the 10% of your brain, yeah, they do. The 10% of your brain thing is just made up. It's not true.
What was Phenomenon? Is that the first time? That's the first time I remember hearing that in a movie.
I'm sure it was around before then.
I'm sure, yeah.
I don't know where that started. I like in that movie how she she transfers herself to a thumb drive.
Yeah.
I thought she became a computer, like literally evolved into a computer.
I don't remember. I just remember there's a weird scene where like she turns into like black ooze and then it goes into a thumb drive.
The thumb drive, yeah. And then the sequel's her. So
yeah. The only good scene in that movie is where she is in a hallway and she dissociates and then just starts flinging people around. Like they just can't touch her. And then that's when she's reached God status.
Yep.
My number 8 is Hail Caesar. This is a Coen Brothers movie. It's one of the Coen Brothers movie that I think is a lot of fun. It's kind of old Hollywood. Definitely some standout scenes. Scarlett Johansson plays a starlet. I think she's introduced as an actress playing a mermaid that's having a tantrum. She's pregnant, so that's a problem for the studio, that kind of thing. She was good in this movie. She definitely understood the assignment. She fit right in with the tone of this film. Thought she did a great job, and as a movie, I enjoyed. So, Hail Caesar.
My number 8 is Hail Caesar, and I agree.
I wanted to watch Hail Caesar for this list, but instead I binged Loki.
Nice.
Could have done both.
Nope, I could not do it. I was running out of time. So instead, my number 7 is Lost in Translation. In this, and I'm going to be completely honest, I saw this movie once when it came out in 2003. And all I really remember about this is it's kind of like a Scarlett Johansson breakout film, if I'm not mistaken. And she and Bill Murray are living in, is it Tokyo or South Korea?
Tokyo.
They're living in Tokyo. And they form sort of a unusual friendship, with him being a retired man and her being a woman in their 20s. And they sort of they form this bond and hang out in Tokyo together. And I know this is a very simplistic description of this movie, but it's a movie that I just do not really remember and haven't really thought about since. But I do remember enjoying it, both the Scarlett Johansson performance and the Bill Murray performance.
Cool. My number 7 is The Prestige, which, is a well-known and well-loved movie by Christopher Nolan. And she plays, a love interest / is she like a magician's assistant kind of character?
Yeah, she starts as Hugh Jackman's assistant and then becomes...
She betrays.
Yeah. Fails.
Yeah, she's good in this movie, and it's a great movie. So that is why it's my number 7.
My number 7, the previously mentioned Vicky Cristina Barcelona. And I agree with everything Kyle said, although I think I probably like it more than Kyle does. And I totally remember her character in this movie. She definitely plays the more free of the friends, I would say. And it's good. Another Woody Allen banger.
My number 6, and this gets into the movies now I can remember much more, and I think they're all probably a little more recent. And this is Captain America Winter Soldier. So this is my one Marvel movie on the list. I think this is one of the best uses of Black Widow, and she is definitely a major character in this movie. Her debut was Iron Man 2, but that was definitely, she was unfortunately there as more of like eye candy. And they used her as an actual character in Winter Soldier, which I think was definitely helped her character and is as she should be in those movies. So she kind of plays sidekick to Captain America as he's thawed, and there's kind of this sort of 70s spy thriller thing going on in the background, and she gets to sort of interplay in that world. And I think it's one of the best uses and the best performances of Black Widow in the MCU.
Can I just say Disney Plus had this thing where they have all the movies that she's in like different banners on Disney Plus, and it's really cool to see. I really like how they did that, because how she is styled differently in each movie, I think is just really fun and kind of nostalgic to like all the Marvel movies we've seen her in. I thought that was cool. My number 6, Marriage Story from 2019. I thought this movie was really interesting. It's kind of memeable in a way. Like this movie, you can kind of make fun of for a lot, but the heart of it, I think there's a lot that's interesting there. And I actually liked her performance better than Adam Driver's performance because it just felt so real to me. I really liked, she just felt like this complex, authentic character to me. I thought her performance was awesome. It showed a maturity of her acting that I hadn't seen in some of her earlier stuff. It's a movie that made me think that she has a long career ahead of her, and we're going to see some interesting things in the future that we haven't necessarily gotten from her. For someone that's as famous as she is, I feel like we've yet to have a series of masterpieces from Scarlett Johansson, but I think that they're coming. So my number 6 is Marriage Story.
Nice. My number 6 is from 2013. It's the first movie we ever reviewed on this podcast. It's Her. It's a movie directed by Spike Jonze, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Amy Adams, Rooney Mara, Olivia Wilde, and Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett plays the voice of an operating system, so you never actually see her in the movie, but her voice runs throughout almost the entire thing. There's a lot of scenes in this movie with Joaquin Phoenix talking to a disembodied voice of the computer that he's falling in love with, and that computer is voiced by Scarlett Johansson. And I think she's, as the voice of the computer, good. I mean, I think that's a role that's probably hard to play because you have to have enough emotion to make it believable that somebody might actually fall in love with a voice, and also still be a computer and kind of like process things as a computer without making the viewer feel like it's not believable that this person could be falling in love with a computer. So I think it was a challenge, and it's one she met. And I enjoy the movie. It's my number 6.
Excellent. My number 5, Zach already mentioned this, Marriage Story. I agree with all your points. It was nice to see a dramatic role from her because we've seen a lot of MCU work from her over the last almost decade now. And I am excited now that Black Widow is no longer part of the MCU and dead, even if they can make those changes down the road. I'm really excited to see where she can go with her career and hoping to see more Marriage Story from things like that from her. I felt like she was playing in this relationship of two people getting divorced, the one who was more over the relationship, where the Adam Driver character, he was more trying to hang on, and she was playing the character like, nope, I'm moving on from this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. My number 5 is Under the Skin from 2013. This is an art house movie. It is impenetrable in a lot of ways. But my favorite parts of it are where she is on the street talking to presumably non-actors And I just felt it was a very intriguing performance, and definitely something that was a risk for her to take, to do something that's so kind of artsy and art house. But it's certainly an interesting, kind of memorable movie, and that's why it's my number 5.
My number 5 is from 2001. It's Ghost World. I'm curious to know where this landed on my list from 4 years ago, because I feel like probably was higher and was pushed down by some more recent movies, I would guess.
It was number 7. I looked it up.
Okay. Yeah, number 7, so it went up. I'm not sure that makes sense, but we'll see when we get there. So Ghost World is Scarlett Johansson, pretty young, I would say, kind of making the transition from child actor to young actor. And she plays opposite Thora Birch. They're both kind of like disaffected, older teenagers, maybe 19, 20 years old or so. And they have an obsession with a guy from their neighborhood who collects old records, played by, who was that? I'm forgetting his name.
Toby Jones?
Steve Buscemi. Wasn't Toby Jones, no. And so they take an interest in him, and he doesn't understand why these young girls have taken an interest in him, because he's just kind of an old loner who listens to old vinyl records. And it's a kind of a quirky comedy, maybe a leftover from like the indie movies of the 90s, but it came out in the early 2000s. And Scarlett Johansson's good in it, and Thora Birch is really good in it. They're believable as friends who enjoy similar things, have the same kind of sarcastic attitude, yet Thora Birch is like the Tim Burton of the group, and Scarlett Johansson is just kind of like a person, I don't know, she has more of like a mean girl persona in the movie maybe than the Thora Birch character. I don't know. It's good, and if you've never seen it, you should check it out. Ghost World, my number 5.
My number 4 is The Prestige. It's been previously mentioned. This is my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. Scarlett Johansson's great in it. And also, this is the second movie on my list where Scarlett Johansson and Rebecca Hall are caught in a love triangle. The first being Vicky Cristina Barcelona. So
that's funny.
Who knew?
It's a theme, evidently.
Yeah.
My number 4 is Her, which has previously been mentioned. Again, it's strictly voice acting, and she's phenomenal as a voice actress. So she should do more of that. She has to get across a lot just using her voice, and she accomplishes it. So number 4, Her.
My number 4, I don't believe has been mentioned. I'm surprised I got to it first. It maybe is higher on your list, but it's Jojo Rabbit from 2019. What a movie. What an interesting movie. At its surface, I have family members who like refuse to watch this movie because it has Nazis in it. I'm like, it's not a movie about Nazis. Like, it's definitely, it's a movie about Nazis, but it's not your typical movie about Nazis for sure. And I was pleasantly surprised at how kind of central Scarlett Johansson is to this movie, and how well she plays her role in the movie. Like she comes in and out of it, and she's a strong presence in the movie, both in times when it needs to be very serious and in times where it needs to be silly. And I think she pulled it off very well. My 4th favorite movie with her in it.
My number 3 is Her. I think we're getting to a lot of repeats now. What impresses me the most about Her is that Scarlett Johansson was not the original choice for the computer. So Joaquin Phoenix, I think he recorded all his lines with another actor off screen. And then Scarlett Johansson had to come back in, and basically ADR her entire role into that movie. So there's no actual interplay between Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson in that movie. And I would never have known that if you'd not told me.
That is interesting. Okay, my number 3 is Match Point. This is a movie that I have not seen in a long time, but I do remember really liking this movie. I found it to be relationally fascinating. You know, like it's kind of a movie like Closer, where there's just a lot of dialogue between characters that has a lot of intrigue and weight to it. And she is in a relationship with like a tennis pro, or she's the tennis pro. I don't remember these details. A movie I need to rewatch, but I remember liking it quite a bit. So Match Point.
Is that also
Number
Woody
3.
Allen?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My number 3 is another movie from 2019, previously mentioned, Marriage Story, which you can watch on Netflix. If you like relationship dramas, it's definitely one of the better ones. And I remember it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I remember I felt like they gave more motivation to the guy's character, to the Adam Driver character. They gave more screen time to like understanding where he was coming from. But I thought that she held her own on screen with him, even though he has the advantage of like a little bit more perspective on where he's coming from. And yeah, I think she does things in Marriage Story that I just never seen her do on screen before. I think it's not like she's done it or she's had the opportunity and she did it badly. She just never is in those roles. And in Marriage Story, she just really digs deep, and I believed every frame that she was on the screen for. And in a movie that kind of hinges on being believable, it was a perfect mix for me. My number 3.
My number 2 is Jojo Rabbit. In this, Scarlett Johansson plays the mother of a boy who is, I mean, he's obsessed with Nazis. Let's put it that way. During World War II, Jojo Rabbit's an interesting movie because it's a light Nazi movie, but it's also a heavy movie at the same time. Like there's definitely comedic and light elements to it, but it still is it's still a serious movie about the Holocaust and the atrocities of World War II. And Scarlett Johansson captures all of those themes and moods where she is a very light character, but then she has these moments where she really kind of digs in and goes deep and shows some real range. And it's my second favorite performance of hers. That's why it's at number 2.
Awesome. Well, my number 2 is Lost in Translation. I feel like this is a very enigmatic movie. It's about loneliness, and disaffection. And I think I like her character better than Bill Murray's character. I think just because the movie paints him as fairly reprehensible, and where she is in a better light. But I think that their connection in Tokyo, because otherwise they are both kind of disconnected from the world around them, I thought makes for a great movie. And Lost in Translation is my number 2.
My number 2 is the previously mentioned Under the Skin, which is an A24 movie directed by Jonathan Glazer. And Scarlett Johansson plays an alien who's tasked with picking up men, posing as a prostitute, and taking these men back to her black oozing room. And I don't know, ingesting their essence. It's hard to really explain what's going on in this movie. It's borderline art house fare, I would say. But I love this movie, and it's another movie that just has a Scarlett Johansson performance in it that's kind of unexplainable, much like the movie. Like a lot of people are annoyed by kind of her Polish accent or whatever, Middle Eastern or Middle European accent, something like that. But when you find out how they filmed this movie and how a lot of it was improv with non-actors who didn't even know they were being filmed for a movie, I find it super interesting that they got away with that with somebody as famous as she is. And I think it speaks to how gullible people are, and also how well she sank into the character and was kind of a little bit unrecognizable if you weren't looking for her. And I think it was a big swing for her. And I think the movie's great and she's good in it. And that's why it's my number 2. Challenging movie, though. Challenging movie. Go ahead, Kyle.
Well, so my number 1 is Under the Skin.
Nice.
This is a top 100 movie for me. I love this movie. You were talking about her accent, and I do think that Scarlett Johansson does have a flatness to her voice. Not that she lacks range or ability to act, but just in her vocal delivery has sort of a flatness to it at times. And I think that's perfect for her role playing an alien mimicking a human, right? I think that delivery worked so well in this movie. I love her black inky room of absorption. It's super weird, but that's my kind of sci-fi movie. And then this movie has a beautiful and tragic ending to it that just left me mouth open, amazed. So, I mean, I can go on, top 100 movie, but my favorite Scarlett Johansson performance.
Cool. Well, my number 1 is Jojo Rabbit. This movie floored me. I loved it. It's so good. She plays a mother. It's kind of cool to see that side of her. The movie is just super good and definitely came as a surprise to me when I watched it. So if you haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, I recommend it, but it's my favorite movie with Scarlett Johansson.
Great picks for your number 1s, guys. My number 1 is Lost in Translation, which is previously mentioned. I think both of you mentioned it somewhere on your list, and it's awesome. It's definitely the first movie that I noticed Scarlett Johansson in, and I'm sure she was in she was in Ghost World before that,
Home Alone 3,
and Home Alone 3, yeah, amongst others. And yeah, Lost in Translation, first movie I seen Bill Murray in where he wasn't cracking jokes and yet he was still funny. And I think some people think of it more as his movie, but I think without the relationship with a young actress who can kind of play playful friend while not making it a romantic story, I think that's a super hard balance to hit. And I think both her and Bill Murray hit it perfect. And I think the movie's good, but I also think the ending kind of makes the movie last longer than it probably should have, type of thing. It's like, if you didn't have the ending that you have for that movie, I think probably more people would have forgotten about it than currently remember the movie. And that is kind of impressive considering the ending. If you've never seen it, you don't know what we're talking about, but if you have, you know what the ending is, and that says something about the movie. But I do think the movie's more about the journey than the ending. It's just the ending, so it's a swing. It's a weird swing, and it works.
Nice.
So my number 1, Lost in Translation.
Cool.
I don't
James,
know what,
are you
I don't
curious
know what,
how,
I don't, go ahead.
Are you curious how this stacks up against the last time we did it?
I am. I clicked it and I've realized that the list as displayed on the website, I'm pretty sure is backwards for me. Because it has,
who is in charge of the website?
It has Under the Skin as my number 10 and Lost in Translation as my number 9, which I just flipped basically. And then my number 1 is the perfect score. And there's not a chance that was my number 1 when we did this.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering as well.
Right.
Although you did put Ghost in the Shell as your number 3. I mean, number 8 on this list.
In doing research for this, I gave Ghost in the Shell, the anime remake starring Scarlett Johansson, I gave it 4 stars.
What? What?
I have no clue. I kind of want to go back and listen to that episode because I hope I justified it somehow. Because
that's funny.
I have not seen the movie since then, and I don't remember it to tell you that it's not worthy of that. But evidently, in the moment, I really enjoyed it.
Interesting. I gave it 3 stars.
Sure. Other movies that dropped off the list for me: The Perfect Score, Match Point dropped off, Lucy dropped off, Captain America: The Winter Soldier dropped off, and I guess was replaced by Endgame. The Island dropped off, and Ghost World, Lost in Translation, Under the Skin survived, I think, towards the top of the list. Marriage Story and Jojo Rabbit slipped in under Ghost World. But generally, like Vicky Cristina Barcelona made it, stayed on the list. Yeah, I don't think any of the older films kind of left and got replaced by an older film. It's just newer stuff showed up.
For mine, for the most part, I just added movies that I've seen since, like Jojo Rabbit made #1, would previously see it wasn't on the list. Same with Marriage Story.
I will say her was not on my list, and I had seen it by then, and now it is, and it's moved up. I've rewatched it since then, so I don't know if that's the rewatch effect, but
Zach, I got 2 questions for you.
Okay.
What movies dropped off your list from last time?
Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Iron Man 2 and The Avengers.
All right. And if you were to put Black Widow on your current list, where would you slot it in?
I would put it number 3 or 4.
All right. Excellent.
I took it into account, so I would not put it on my list. But it's probably like number 11. It's pretty close.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode 487 of the Cinereelists. We appreciate your listenership. Don't forget, you can always send us an email to heyguys@cinereelists.com, REEL with an S on the end. Send a comment, a list suggestion, a movie suggestion, any of those types of things. You can also follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/Cinereelists. Support the podcast, get extra after show audio, amongst other things. You could leave us an Apple Podcast review. You could follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Cinereelists. Or you could follow me on my personal Twitter or Letterboxd account at YoJRB.
You can follow me on Twitter or Letterboxd at Shaban.
You can find me on Letterboxd at PeterSKB.
I don't remember what we're talking about next week. Do you guys remember off the top of your head? We normally talk.
I don't know if we've decided yet.
Oh, okay.
Maybe possibly Jungle Cruise.
Oh, Jungle Cruise.
Or The Green Knight.
Oh, is Green Knight next week?
It comes out 7:30.
Ooh.
If 7:30 p.m.
No, July
30th.
Yeah, that would not be in time for next episode. So probably not.
Well, then 2 weeks we'll be talking Green Knight, or 3,
maybe
in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
We're no longer in a world where they have to release things streaming, and there's a possibility that is an A24 movie that's only coming out in like New York, Chicago, and LA.
So we have to wait on the wide release.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's one that A24 delayed. So I think they're pretty invested in a slow roll theatrical release.
Yeah.
It's getting a lot of advertising though. So it makes me wonder if it is getting a wider release.
I read a review for it on Twitter, like just a little tweet review, where somebody said it's really good, but don't believe the marketing. If you expect what the marketing sells you, you might be disappointed.
We can just stop right there.
Right. So, but I like the marketing, so I hope there's a little bit of that in there.
Have any of you ever seen Sword of the Valiant?
No.
So it's a 1984 movie that I've seen multiple times in my life because my dad really loved it, where Sean Connery plays the Green Knight. So it's the same plot as this movie, but you have Sean Connery playing the Green Knight. And it is a lot of fun. I would totally recommend it unless you don't want anything in the Green Knight to be spoiled for you, because it's the same plot. But either watch it before or after because it's quite the movie.
Would that be a fun episode where we do Green Knight and then we do the Connery one? Sword of the Valiant? As like a I've never seen it, but...
Oh, yeah, totally.
I'm down with it.
Yeah, that'd be a great
Okay.
time.
Next weekend, the big movie is Old, which is the M. Night Shyamalan movie about the old people,
Oh yeah.
where everybody's
I was
caught on a
interested in that.
beach and they're like aging weirdly.
Yeah.
I'm
It's a
into
movie
it.
where the trailer shows a lot, but I'm still intrigued by it.
Right. So we may or may not be talking Old the next weekend. We might pivot to something else if we decide not to. But if we're going to watch a theater release, it would probably be that movie. Regardless, we'll see you guys right back here in just one short week. Until then, keep it cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
This is spoilers for Black Widow. If you have not seen the movie and you want to stay spoiler free, you shouldn't be listening to this. But if you've seen the movie or you don't care about spoilers, listen away. So, Black Widow, we find out, I don't think anybody mentioned that Florence Pugh is her sister, kind of, right? We didn't mention
I think we
that,
mentioned
right?
it.
Technically
did
not her
mention that?
sister.
Well, I mean, kind of her sister.
Well, she was her sister for 3 years as a act.
Yeah, they were raised together briefly.
Sure, but the Florence
long
Pugh
enough to form a bond.
character- Yeah, the Florence Pugh character considers her the closest thing she has to a sister. She
Absolutely.
considered her a sister. Yeah, and she definitely took it personally that she didn't follow up to come find her afterwards. And what else?
Yeah, what was your issue with you said you had an issue with Florence Pugh?
Oh, I don't have an issue with Florence Pugh herself. It's more the character and this is skipping way ahead in the spoilers, but the after credit sequence makes the entire movie feel like just a setup for a TV show. I mean,
Completely.
I know there was definitely details in here that helped flesh out Black Widow's backstory, but man, I mean, that stinger undercut a lot of that for me to make the whole movie feel like, oh, this was a movie where they wanted us to get to know Florence Pugh less than they wanted us to fully understand Scarlett Johansson's or, the Black Widow character. I think they did do both of those in the movie. It's just, I wasn't expecting that strong a lead in into like the next Marvel show right at the end. Now, if this had been released a year ago, maybe it would feel less like that because the Marvel show wouldn't literally be the next one like it is right now. It'd be like a year or two out before we see the culmination of that ending. And this is all assumption based on rumor, but that the next Marvel show is like Florence Pugh versus Hawkeye. So
Did you guys see Captain America versus Winter Soldier? Zach, I know you didn't finish it.
I've saw 3 episodes.
Okay. Did you finish it, James?
I did finish it.
Okay, so you've seen the Julie Louis-Dreyfus character already then.
I have, yeah. And I've heard
Okay.
that's out of order too. Although that didn't bother me that they were out of order.
I think it shows, or I read kind of like, we think that Marvel has this grand master plan, and then they release something out of order that's supposed to set up the next thing, and it doesn't matter like when you meet this new character. Like the fact that you met this character in a TV show versus the movie doesn't affect like the timeline or their plotting whatsoever.
Well, because this character is the minorest of minor characters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character in both of the series that she's in, she's barely in them, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, right.
She's not essential to the plot on either of them.
I don't think it endangers the master plan at all.
Oh no, holes are showing.
Right.
No, I just think Marvel is winging it a bit more than we think.
Sure. Yeah. So that's my big issue. Not necessarily with Florence Pugh, just that the movie kind of made me feel like it was a setup for us to get to know her instead of Black Widow. And I think that's right. That was one of the directives of the movie, which makes more sense why they gave Black Widow a movie, because it hasn't made much sense to me why they gave her a movie after they killed her in the main series. Like they had plenty of opportunity when she was hot as an Avengers character to do this, and they didn't until after she was dead.
I don't think that you can boil it down to they made a movie that's making hundreds of millions of dollars just so that they could make a TV show that will make a lot less than that.
I wouldn't say hundreds. Maybe
90
maybe
opening
200.
weekend.
Yeah, but weekend 2 has had one of the biggest. It's had the largest Marvel drop between week 1 to week 2. It dropped like 67%.
Sure, but you got to add Disney plus international. I mean, it's still going to make hundreds.
Yeah, okay, hundreds. We're talking like 2, 3. We're not talking 5, 6.
Oh, that's fine. But that's enough reason for them to make a Black Widow movie. The fact that they can pull in $300 million. It's not simply just to set up a TV show.
Yeah. In saying that, I didn't necessarily mean the reason they made it was because of that. It was like, oh, we can release a Black Widow movie, not put that effort to something else, because we can make people happy with a Black Widow movie, which people have been asking for forever. And also, since she's already dead, let's make sure we get something longer out of this. That it's not strictly just fill in the blanks from these other things, that it's also additive down the line. And I get why you would do that. I'm not even necessarily criticizing that. It just kind of felt like to do that as the stinger left me a little salty in the end.
I gotcha.
It did feel like a TV show stinger and not a movie stinger. Like the Avengers, most of their stingers are just kind of like jokes or something fun. Occasionally you have like a Nick Fury or an Iron Man pop up, but they were more like a treat at the end. And this one felt like the stingers you see on the MCU TV shows on Disney Plus of like, here's the reveal of the next thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that a Hawkeye show was coming, so it just didn't enter my mind.
Yeah,
Yep.
Is it like, right, the idea is that Florence Pugh and maybe bad U.S. agent, jerk Captain America are going to be hunting Hawkeye or
something like that.
It's not
Those
quite
are the
like a
rumors.
Suicide Squad, but it's sort of like, let's take the more morally compromised superheroes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know we didn't mention this in the non-spoiler review, but I don't even know if this is spoilers, but I did like that it took place in like a really tight time frame. The bulk of it took place like right between Civil War and Infinity War, like right in that little bubble. I like that they compressed it into just that little window. Took me a little while to acclimate exactly where it was in the timeline, but I think they did a good job of kind of like leaving you clues along the way.
Yeah. To go into a little bit more specifics about that first 10 minutes that I really liked. I've never watched The Americans, but I love this idea of like they're this kind of planted Russian family of spies. So at first it seems like a normal family, and then David Harbour comes home and he says like, okay, it's time to go. And you get this slow drip of kind of information about who these people are, right? Like when they're at the airport and he flips that huge metal thing.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, oh my goodness, he has superpowers. You know, like he's like super strong. That's awesome. And then they're doing the flyaway thing. It was just all like, it kept ramping up and ramping up. And I was like, where is this going? Who are these people? Because I thought that they were a legitimate family at that point. And I was expecting, knowing her backstory, that she gets like abducted from that family, her real family, and then put into the Red Room kind of program. So I didn't realize that that was a fake family. And then even later in the movie, you get more information, like the fact that that photo album of them, like at Christmas and birthdays and all that kind of stuff,
great.
They shot all that in one day. It was like, that was faked. And Scarlett Johansson's character, Black Widow, remembers the day that they shot that, whereas Florence Pugh was too young. And so it was probably all real to her, you know? Mm-hmm. And then when they get back together and they have like a family meal later in the movie, you see them fall back into these roles, especially Florence Pugh. She sometimes is acting like a little child because that is who she is in relation to these people. I just love that exploration of like a found family and how that impacts them when they don't really have any real family other than that.
Mm-hmm.
And to Black Widow's credit, and they kind of address this too, like her newfound family are the Avengers.
Yeah.
So like that emotional void has been filled by them. But for Florence Pugh, and I agree with your take on her character. Like this is the only family she's ever known. Like the Red Room's not a family. So just right, how much she wants that to be her real family and to wants to see them all back together again, even though the other three of them all know it's all fake. Yeah. To her, it's important and it's real.
Kyle, you didn't like the Taskmaster character?
I liked the idea of the Taskmaster character. Like, I think it's a cool concept that like, here is a character that can learn your fighting style and you can't defeat them. But I never really felt like they showed that. Like that's why the Florence Pugh ScarJo fight in the apartment was better, because I felt like here are two people who are actual equals who like literally went to a draw. Right. They had a call of truce. Where with Taskmaster, I mean, you get the idea that like she's watched Captain America because she's got the shield. At some point she does like the claw Black Panther pose. But I don't know. And this could be a dumb idea. I don't write movies. Like I wish maybe Black Widow had like a signature move or something. And then she goes to use her signature move and Taskmaster's like, I know exactly what this move is. And Black Widow realizes, oh, this is a formidable opponent. Like I can't even use my special bag of tricks.
That happens in the movie. It did. You kind of, it wasn't, I'm not sure it was highlighted super well. Okay. But she does that like scissor throw where she like jumps up on people and then gets her legs around them and then throws them, you know.
Yeah, it's like a flying armbar.
More like a hurricanrana, I think they call it. It's not a real move. It's more like a wrestling move.
Okay. It's based on a real move in jiu-jitsu.
Sure. And she does it to Taskmaster, and then Taskmaster like reverses it and does it right back to her.
Oh, okay.
But that's the only move that I would say is a Natasha Romanoff move. Like she does that in a couple Captain America movies at least, if not a couple Avengers movies. But I agree. But I did like how they showed Taskmaster watching the fight from Civil War in Germany at the airport. And then you immediately see her do the moves of like 3 of the Avengers from that clip. So it's not just the person that you're fighting. It's like she can literally just watch like YouTube clips of people fighting and like soak it in and use it in battle. But I do think Taskmaster was kind of undercooked by the finale.
She was underutilized, though. I do like that she fit into this theme of like of women's liberation, which kind of, you know, percolated throughout this movie, of how even they wanted to liberate her from being a slave to the Red Room into the process.
I was fine with her use as a plot device, but as an action piece, I think she was undercooked.
Yeah. And we all knew it was the daughter right away, right? When you heard about the daughter blowing up in the building?
No.
I didn't.
No.
All right.
I mean, I'm not going to say I was shocked when they pulled that out, but I didn't predict it. My brain. Or
the minute she said the daughter was collateral damage, I was like, no, the daughter's Taskmaster.
I thought Taskmaster was a robot for most of the movie. I didn't think there was a person in there.
Oh, because of the armor or just how she moved or how it moved? Yeah.
One other thing I want to say about the character of Black Widow in this film, I really enjoyed how they wrote her character to just be selfless and brave without thinking about it. So like, for instance, when she's parachuting down with her sister and she sees the Taskmaster headed for them, like without hesitation, she lets go of her sister, assuming that she'll probably die because she doesn't have a parachute herself. But if she held on to her sister, Taskmaster would then attack her and her sister. And so the way to save her sister's life was to let go of her sister. And I just like that she does that without hesitation, in the same way that she dies in, is it Infinity War or Endgame? I forget which one she actually dies.
Endgame.
Okay. In the same way that without hesitating, she does that. It felt like a proper continuation of her character. And I like watching people on screen that don't hesitate to do this like heroic thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say my
spoilers for Endgame. Do you believe she's actually dead?
Yeah.
I think there's a chance she's not fully dead.
What does not fully dead mean? Like Princess Bride not fully dead?
Like
just a little dead?
Like the reality where that sacrifice was made was not like a normal reality. It was, Marvel galaxy out in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? It was like to assume that the laws of Earth and, human beings apply at a place where a guy with a literal red skull is going to give you a gem if you throw yourself off a cliff. Like the idea that they couldn't just write something that says, she's still sacrificed, but that doesn't mean she died. You know what I mean?
Right.
She gave to the point where she was going to die. That was enough type of thing. I don't know.
So I think that because it's Marvel, they can absolutely have Thor go to the underworld and retrieve her, and that's fine.
Right.
But I think she actually probably did die because the only way to get the Infinity Stone is someone dies, So I think they could easily bring her back through any number of Marvel ways.
Rescue her soul or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, or there can be like some alternate time path.
Yeah. Bring
Natasha
Black
Romanoff.
Widow back from a different timeline.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden you have her back.
Yeah, Marvel will do nothing with alternate timelines. That's crazy. I will say my favorite movie, or my favorite moments of this movie, it was a perfect setup knockdown, is they're in the helicopter and Florence Pugh is kind of ragging on Scarlett Johansson for her superhero pose.
Mm-hmm.
How like she'll like land, on the ground with one foot out. And then later in the movie, Florence Pugh does the superhero pose and immediately recoils, and with disgust with herself. And I thought that was a well acted moment right there. Just how she just showed that disgust with being the thing that she hates about her sister.
Yeah,
I did like that they didn't make Florence Pugh like that character just a mini version of Natasha Romanoff. Like she was just she was like a little bit of the bratty little sister, even as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that element as well.
Yeah, totally.
But
I think how Scarlett Johansson defeats the big bad guy at the end was a little eye rolling.
You gotta remind me. I don't even remember.
You can't kill him because his pheromones, like he's programmed you to where if you smell his pheromones, you can't kill him. So she like bangs her head into the desk to sever the nerve, and then she couldn't smell him. She kills him, and then she pops it back into place. I thought that was a little silly. I also did not like the idea of them introducing masks where they can look like someone else, like Mission Impossible style.
Yeah, you saw
it's too powerful.
You saw in Rachel Weisz's like ready room, there was kind of like these mask shaped things in the background. So they were hinting at it, but it didn't, like when they did the reveal, I was still scratching my head like, wait, huh?
Yeah. It just it makes everyone Nightcrawler. You know what I mean? Like, just anyone could be anyone at any point now.
Well, and we all agree that the worst Mission Impossible movie is number 2, where they just judiciously use masks throughout that movie.
I think judicious means they're careful not to use it too much.
Sorry, they
gratuitously.
Gratuitous, thank you.
Yeah.
Without judiciousness, they use masks.
Yeah.
So
I have a word a day calendar, but I also don't read the definition. I'm like, oh, that's a word. Okay, great.
You imagine what the definition might be.
Yeah, I make it up.
Yeah.
The masks, I'm not defending the use of masks, but there is like precedence of masks in the MCU, specifically with Black Widow. So it's not like it came out of nowhere, but it is definitely something that's strongly associated with Mission Impossible. So it's hard not to get the comparison.
I don't mind masks if it's like a character introduction and they're showing her like infiltrating a, I don't know, Russian mob or whatever, and she whips a mask off and it's really her and blah, blah, blah. But when it becomes like a plot device of they make a mask to sneak in and it's there to both trick the bad guy and trick the audience, I don't like it when the masks are used to trick the audience because it feels like a cheat.
Yeah. I think it happens pretty casually in Winter Soldier, when she's like first meeting up with Captain America and like they like dip into a hallway to try to avoid some people, and then she pulls off the mask and it's her.
Okay.
And then I think they also did it in Winter Soldier and the Falcon, or whatever that show was called. So if you didn't watch all of that, you might not have seen it in there.
Gotcha.
I watched
all.
I don't remember it all.
So it's in there. Oh, can I say I just enjoy the world building of there's this arms dealer guy that can just get you anything you need. Let him know. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. And I think he's like a Marvel guy who gets around as well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
As far as like he knows a bunch of the Marvel characters and pops up in a bunch of the books. So he might be able to be like an ongoing person that pops up in a bunch of movies as this supplier guy.
Well, that's the thing with Marvel is they have so much source material to draw from. They don't have to create a character for anything. Because we need an arms dealer, we can just find an arms dealer from the comic.
Yeah.
And
if anything, they combine multiple characters into one character for the movie.
Yeah.
They'll take from like 3 different places and meld them.
Yeah, the only person whose motivation I'm still kind of shaky on, and maybe I missed something, again, it's 2 weeks ago, is the Rachel Weisz character. I liked how she was still kind of cold, and she almost felt more cold now than she was, in the flashbacks at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
David Harbour's character, the Red Guardian, he seemed like the same kind of goofy, jovial guy over time. Whereas she seemed to have lost a little bit of like the, oh, we're a family type of vibe. And then she does the horrible thing with the pig. And so we're meant to kind of not like her because she's a cruel person, right? And then I didn't feel any kind of arc from there to swapping with Scarlett Johansson to break out all the other angels or whatever the subservient women were called.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, I don't understand. Yeah. I don't understand where what's the motivation for all of that to happen? I didn't get it.
Weren't we meant to believe that she sold out the family too?
Yeah. I kind of feel like she should have, in the end, tried to double cross again, like double cross Black Widow and Florence Pugh and even the Guardian.
Wait, Kyle, what do you mean about selling out the family?
Right. So they're all at the cabin, the house, the pig farm.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bad guys team shows up. So I feel like they get the drop on them. And then doesn't Rachel Weisz say like, oh yeah, I just called Dreykov or something like that?
Was she not like under the influence of that toxin and that at some point they use the antidote on her?
I don't think they ever use it on her.
Okay.
In the cabin?
I don't know.
I don't think they did because there's that scene where he commands her to do something, right? Or no, wait, that was actually Natasha with the mask on.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it. Yeah. Before she broke her own nose.
And see, that's the dumb thing about the mask is now like we have to go back and think, oh wait, which character was that actually who has this influence?
Yeah. I mean, they must have peppered her before in a scene that we didn't see. Because otherwise, why would she like try to take the ship down and all the other stuff that the Vice character actually does with the mask of Natasha? I don't know. It just felt unmotivated and kind of out of character for somebody who's presented as so cold just like seconds earlier. I don't know.
And someone who seems committed to the cause.
Yeah. Or maybe committed to the cause and might help, like so committed to the cause that she might want to take over the whole operation from the main bad guy. And maybe are using these 3 people to help her do it. But instead they went with like full redemption arc. No, she wants to be mommy again. And it was kind of like, I don't know. I'm not sure you really got us there with that. Whereas the David Harbour character totally bought it because from the beginning to the end, he's like, these are my girls. So I don't know.
Cool.
Small complaints in like the bigger arc of a fun action movie that I enjoyed. These are all like kind of just nitpicks. I do feel like the Hulk, let's say this movie came out the same time that the Hulk did, right? Like before there was like a huge universe that you're like filling in the, missing pieces on with these movies about individual characters. If this had come out right after Incredible Hulk, you got Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Black Widow. This would be a better movie than Incredible Hulk, but I think it would be forgotten, much like Incredible Hulk is. Like, I think there's not enough meat on the bones as an individual story for it to matter by the time you get to a movie. By the time you get to the Avengers movies, or certainly the Infinity Wars and the Endgames of the world, it just has nothing of consequence for the most part, other than filling in the character of Black Widow and some of her previously seen motivations. So, all right. Now that we've talked spoilers, anybody else have a change of heart? Anybody changing their star rating? Nope. All right.
Nope.
That's it for Black Widow. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.